very warm welcome to the Leaders of Tomorrow Vodcast, your go-to series for unfiltered conversations with entrepreneurs shaping the future of business. I'm Ritwika Gupta, and today we are serving up a story that equal parts entrepreneurship and exceptional food. More than a decade ago, when most restaurants were doubling down on familiar cuisines, Burma Burma decided to take Indian diners on a different journey. Joining me today are Chirag and Ankit, the minds behind Burma Burma, to talk about building a restaurant from scratch. Grab a snack because this one's going to be a delicious episode. Ankit, Chirag, welcome to the Leaders of Tomorrow podcast. I'm really looking forward to this conversation because it's not every day that I get to chat with two childhood friends who then become business partners. So I'm really looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you for having us.
Such a pleasure to be on this platform.
So, I want to start with a very simple question. It might seem simple, but and this is a common question for the both of you. Tell us what makes a great restaurant. I mean, the obvious choice is probably food, but is it anything else? Like maybe the location, the brand. Maybe Ankit, we could start with you.
I mean, all our Burma Burmas, right? They evoke a certain feeling, right? And that comes from the very fact that the food is supposed to be good. The culture and tradition, what we take inspiration from, that really matches the restaurant.
Yeah.
And the accessibility as well, right? So I think there's a combination of these factors that makes a great restaurant. And, we are quite proud that over the last 10 to 12 years, there are so many diners who have access to Burma Burma, and they've got this feeling when they come and dine at Burma Burma.
Right. So it's experience. Chirag?
In a nutshell, 4 things. Great food, fabulous service, outstanding execution by the team, and accessible locations.
No pressure. So, Ankit, let me come to you first. Burma Burma was founded in 2014, right? And it's been a while. But I think at that time, I'm not sure if Indians were as experimental as they are today, when it comes to food especially. Tell me, how did you come up with this idea? And because, when I speak to a lot of founders as well on my show, they prefer to, enter existing markets. You chose something very different, very new, if I may say, Burmese cuisine. So what convinced you that this is going to work?
I think it stems from the fact that, back in the day, a lot of restaurateurs weren't taking that risk of starting an establishment which is focused towards a single cuisine or a country, right? So that was the era of pan-Asian and multi-cuisine. But having some form of experience with the Taj hotels, right, where we saw the likes of Japanese restaurant Wasabi, Chinese restaurant Golden Dragon, right, and that gave us the confidence that there are takers to go to restaurant for single cuisine food, right. And when we traveled to Burma, the kind of flavors it had to offer, right, so relatable, so familiar. There's a great mix of street food, heirloom recipes, right, and tribal food. And they were so connected to the Indian palate. The moment we had that, we knew that we need to get this to India, and more people need to have access to Burmese food, right? So it was a risk, it was like a punt that we took. And we were grateful that, we were happy to ride the wave. And now if you see where trends have gone, multi-cuisine restaurants and pan-Asian restaurants, have made way for a very single cuisine, very experience-led places.
Absolutely. Chirag, coming to you now, you have a very different background. I understand you come from a background of textiles. You worked in a family business, right, for some time before, Burma Burma happened. Textile and food, it's not the obvious choice. So what made you take that leap?
I feel fundamentals of any business remain the same. The intention is to make profit by great execution. You have to manage demand and supply. So one of the key things we do differently in our execution is because of my textile background. Keeping things very simple. Looking after our vendors. Focus on profitability. Being aware of EBITDA, taking profit-conscious decisions. So that was my background, and I got into this trade. Ankit was always working on this concept by sheer passion. In 2013-14, in the moment, it was not, the question was not about how profitable we were going to make it. It was a leap of faith. It was indulging into passion. it became a full-time gig much later. So, if I were to answer your question, is fundamentals remain the same, whether it's textile, whether it's restaurant, whether it's trading, whether it's import or export. There are, of course, tweaks as per the industry, but if your fundamentals are strong, I feel an entrepreneur can scale in any business.
Sure. So Ankit told us, what the initial idea was behind Burma Burma, but tell me what made you think that, okay, this is a brand that can be scalable as well, not just another successful restaurant, but you can scale it across India as well.
In our first 6 years of operation, we opened in 4 zones of the country, in 6 different cities. That is against the regular playbook of mastering one city and then entering other cities. By the time we opened our 6th restaurant, COVID hit us and we opened our 6th restaurant, there was data to suggest that the same cuisine, same food works in whole of India.
Right.
So in 2022, both Ankit and me sat down, now how do we scale Burma? But what is stopping us? When the answer was money, then we said, let's go out and raise some money and then scale it up and let's see where it takes us. 3 years later, we are at 21 restaurants in 9 cities.
Fantastic. Tell me, are you both foodies? What's your personal relationship with food?
I'll take that.
Yeah.
And I think Chirag is a bigger foodie than me.
Really? Okay.
Right. When we go to a restaurant, just the two of us, right? I'm good with just a soup, starter, maybe a main course, right? Then that's normal, right? And Chirag being a foodie, he has to order like 10 to 12 dishes.
10 to 12 dishes?
And his funda is very simple. कि variety तो होनी चाहिए life में.
That's true.
Right? And Touchwood, he's got a great appetite as well. And that's what one of the things that when we were traveling together before Burma Burma opened, right? His passion, for trying out restaurants, different cuisines, really, made me surprised. But at the same time, I had a great respect for that. That's again one of the reasons we got together.
Do you agree, Chirag?
Absolutely, I love food.
Yeah.
The only thing I love more than food is money. So at Burma Burma, both passions are coming together.
Yeah.
It's not about wanting a gourmet meal every time, but whenever you're eating a gourmet meal, why should we restrict ourselves to one starter, what if it's not good? And if you're going to a restaurant, you want to experience it totality.
Right.
So if I'm traveling with my wife, Ankit and me are traveling, we're traveling with friends, there have been so many occasions the server in a foreign country has said in a language, even if they don't speak English, sir, that is too much. I'm like, please get it. If you want, I'll pay upfront, but please get all of it. So the whole idea is, if you're able to convert your passion into a money-making business, then work is not work, and it's exciting. That it's not about how much work you're putting in, right? So I love food.
So what's your favorite on the menu? Burma Burma, of course.
In every category?
Yeah, I mean anything. Just pick one. Because a lot of people are watching this. So what would you like to recommend if you had to somebody who's gonna come to Burma Burma for the first time? What is that must-try dish according to the both of you?
Personally, I'll take that one. Most recent favorite is our rice bowls, which we have launched very recently. If you are in a hurry, you have 30 minutes, a rice bowl with vegetables, with rice, with some gravy. It is outstanding. It is a wholesome meal, and you can just get in, have a rice bowl, have a bubble tea, have an exciting dessert, and you're out of the place.
Ankit, what is your favorite on the menu?
It's so difficult to say one dish, right? There are roughly 60 dishes on the menu.
Yeah.
And the categories have only been built over the years, right? And every time we travel to Burma, I come up with a new favorite. And it started off from a tea leaf salad. These are pickled tea leaves which are fermented, right? Downrightly addictive. There's always like a jar of tea leaf kept at home, right? It's my midnight snack craving. And my current favorite is the Burmese falooda. In Burma, it's called Shwe A, that means heart cooler. And it's actually a street drink. In Burma, there weren't many concepts of restaurants or like bars, right? There were like street vendors and stalls selling all kind of noodles and rice, right? And this is something that you take a pit stop during your shopping. And you just have it, and then you're again re-energized.
Amazing.
You should try it.
I absolutely can't wait to try it. So Ankit, my next question is to you. When I look at a restaurant that's full, that's filled with people, I automatically assume that it is a profitable restaurant. Tell me, how different is the reality?
I would not say otherwise, right? Building on to Chirag's point earlier, and if a restaurant is executed well, and there are some checks in order with regards to the forecasting, the right menu pricing, the right number of seats, right? The hours and the different levers that one restaurant requires, right? The dine-in, the delivery business. So if all these levers are positive, I don't see a reason why a restaurant should be negative, right? In terms of profit. And I think Chirag could add on to that point.
Yeah, absolutely.
To give you an example, if a restaurant is packed, it is safe to assume that it is profitable. But is it achieving the optimum profitability? That's a different question. If you have one restaurant, it's running to pack capacity. To have the perfect execution, the right systems and processes, controlling wastage, are you buying cheapest in its category? For all that you need people. And for people to hire those people, you need scale. You cannot afford talent with one restaurant, right? So for all of it to come together, 1% is profit and 20% is also profit. To obtain optimum profitability, you need a certain scale. Until we had 6 restaurants, our corporate team was non-existent. As of today, our corporate team is over 120 people, handling 21 restaurants. That has enabled us to reduce our food costs by not compromising on quality, by bettering our execution, by reducing wastage.
Okay.
So it depends on what kind of profitability you want to attain. But safe to say, who does not love a packed restaurant?
Yeah.
But as a restaurant owner, it is a very complex cycle. No 2 months are the same. There are 4 months of a year where you're on cloud 9. There are 3 months in a year where business comparatively is not good because of various reasons. To balance it out, you need scale.
So tell me, would you rather prefer to open 10 outlets quickly, or just say 2 outlets but ensure that they are exceptionally profitable?
It is a journey. Like I told you, it took us 8 years to open 6 restaurants. Money was a factor, but you have to fine-tune the product. There has to be organic growth. The menu that you see today, Ankit can build on to that.
Yeah.
It was very different 12 years ago.
Right.
It built over time. First restaurant has to get it absolute right, and then you scale up. You have to be conscious of the rent that you're paying, the location that you're getting. Anything done in a hurried manner, a new concept anybody launches, you cannot open 10 in 1 year.
Right.
But can you open 10 spread across 3 years? Definitely yes. So you have to be profit conscious in every call that you take. If you were to sign 10 in one go, that is not a profit conscious call, because you do not know what restaurant 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are going to do. So it has to be well spaced out, backed by the right team, and I couldn't reiterate more, location is the key.
So Ankit, I think I just want to pick that up from what Chirag said. Just walk us through, what it took for you to, put together a team, in terms of the chefs, in terms of the people who are working with you, who help you to perhaps design the menu as well. How does that work?
In fact, it takes almost 30 to 35 different vendors, agencies and consultants, right, to build one restaurant in its right form. And it's a journey, right? And we are here to build restaurant company that survives us, right? Build it for decade, and it has to be sustainable, right? So when the entire process started to open a Burmese restaurant, first we had to really understand what Burma is all about. Right. And for that, the team traveled to Burma, interacted with the locals, came back, right, did the trials for the recipes, right, to get that right. Then, of course, the team building started, right. So great that since I've worked, priorly in the industry, a lot of my peers, right, that was really helpful for them to join the company and believe in the vision, right. And that's how slowly and gradually the team was built. Then Chirag and myself, we had to find out the right architect to really create a unique space that celebrates Burma in its true form, right? And all our 21 restaurants across India, they all are unique in terms of the design, right? No two are alike, and that gives us the creative freedom right, to try out different things, because it's so difficult to put the entire country in just one concept, right? So then the architects, the MEP, the kitchen consultants, right? It's all our restaurants are like factories, right? Our food is made fresh every day at the restaurant. We don't have a central kitchen format. So that came together, right? And then the trainings started. We started recruiting teams, and then it's partly about luck as well, right? It was slightly a risk when we opened, and but if you do it with the right intent and there's a right team backing us, right, and eventually the product that you're giving to the guest, right, they see there's a value for their money, right, there are very little reasons for it not to succeed, and happy to have been there.
So what is the hardest part today about running a restaurant business here in India? It's a common question to the both of you, so Chirag, maybe you could take that first.
Hardest part about running a restaurant in India is managing costs along with delivering the best version of the product, scoring locations, hiring. It is a very complex business. It only gets easier with scale. What happens at scale, you have teams to handle multiple things, but initially, in the first few years, it was Ankit and me for everything. For the longest time, our designations were co-founder. So co-founder is another word for handling everything.
Right.
So all of this has to be together, because the consumer is you get one shot. In a crowded market, you get one shot to give the best experience to that consumer who's picked you over multiple restaurants.
That's true.
So the margin of error is very low.
Yeah.
So it is not a clear vanilla answer. It is a very complex industry, but if all of it falls together, it's a great industry to be in.
Absolutely. Ankit?
Hardest part, it keeps evolving and changing, right? I think as we speak today, there are so many restaurants and bars opening across the country, right? And team is everything. So to get the right talent, right, and the retention, right, it's a continuous process that we keep working on, right? And every market, there are so many new restaurants coming. Again, there's a fight for the location as well, to get an access to the right real estate in today's time, right? That's again become challenging, but that is when the brand is a differentiator, right? If there's a good brand and there's a pull effect to that, right? So they enjoy that real estate.
Yeah.
Yes, along with scale, sometimes comes with sustainability, right? The soul and essence of the restaurant should not be lost, right? And we continuously reinforce with our team members and the guests, right, about the quality of the product and the training and the service, the three core pillars of the restaurant. So it's an ongoing process.
Post 10 restaurant, once you have scale, 1 to 5 to 10 restaurants can be bootstrapped. Scaling up beyond 10 restaurants, you need private equity, you need institutional investment to manage that. That is the reason from 5 to 10 you build processes, because once you get organized money, your processes already have to be in order. Scaling up from beyond 10 restaurants, you need to get money. After you've received that, the biggest challenge is real estate and people. It's not about one thing is getting the right people. If you're scaling up, you need volume of right people. So that's an interesting challenge, and scoring the right real estate. If you look around Mumbai, there are so many restaurants that are opening and so many more that want to open. So people are fighting, 50 brands are fighting for the same spot. So that's where a differentiated brand comes into the picture. So every stage, there are different challenges. Challenges never end.
So staying with you, Chirag, and I think both of you have had an incredible journey with Burma Burma. This is probably the only homegrown restaurant that we are sitting in here in this particular mall. I want to know a little bit about your funding journey, because investors, they love consumer brands, but restaurants, they do come with their own set of operational complexities. So how did you convince investors to back your vision back then, and even now, what can you tell us about the funding journey?
2022, January, February, Ankit and me were sitting down, market had bounced back from COVID.
Yeah.
Numbers were better than ever. So both of us came to a common conclusion, let's go and raise money. So to answer your question, we failed to convince investors. We convinced one investor, Neil Behel from Negen Capital. Before that, we spoke to everybody in the country, right, who's invested in food, QSR, packaged food, anything to do with food.
Yeah.
We got turned down with everybody. People had different reasons. Scale, will we be able to scale? We are only a one cuisine brand, one cuisine company. So we managed to convince only one investor. In our first round, they were our biggest investor. And that's how our journey began. After that, with every subsequent fundraiser, we've done 4 fundraisers, it got easier. But the first 2 rounds were the toughest because people didn't get what we were building. Casual Burmese brand operating in India without alcohol, doing multi-city, are all the things that restaurateurs are avoid not to do. All of them packaged together. It was a tough buy for investors. With a couple of rounds, with scaling up, all that changed. And I would suggest to all aspiring restaurateurs, it's not about the number of investors. Even if you find one right investor, that is enough for you to scale.
Fantastic. So I want to talk a little bit about the food delivery service, which has really changed the game for restaurants. Maybe Ankit, I'll come to you. Tell me, how have food delivery apps like Zomato and Swiggy, how has that changed the economics of a restaurant business, and how have you personally, at Burma and Burma, how do you view it? How do you view like a platform like a Swiggy and a Zomato?
So let's jog back around 10 to 12 years, right? How a typical food delivery that used to happen. One was like a food pickup from the restaurant, takeaways, and the other was the guests used to call the restaurant, give the order, and they had their own cycle with their different carts and boxes, and they used to deliver, right?
Yeah.
There was no automation, there was no tech, there was no discovery as well. It's only the restaurants that are your favorites used to call them. Right? And now I think with the advent of these food delivery aggregators, an entire new revenue vertical has opened up. And a lot of restaurants are even like 40-50% contribution of their entire sale is from these delivery aggregators app, which wasn't there earlier. Right? So it's like a low-hanging fruit. And because there is even like discovery on their platforms, right? And a lot of people want to try new cuisines as well. Right? So that has really helped. And the tech is also so seamless, right? It's like a 2-step or 3-step click for them to get their food at home, right?
Yeah.
Domino's had started with this 30-minute delivery, right? And even today, a lot of these restaurants deliver within 1 hour's time. So the restaurants have come closer to everyone's home, right? And it took us around 2 to 3 years to start delivery initially, because we wanted the same experience of Burma Burma at home, right? And with the right packaging, we had a consultant on board, right? We give these tamarind candies, we give the music QR code at Burma Burma, right? So they almost experience eating and dining at Burma Burma in the comforts of their home,
right?
And I think it's only gonna grow in the future.
So I have a similar question for you, Chirag, but more on the lines of this whole experience which, Ankit spoke about. What do you think still attracts a consumer to a restaurant then? Because, for me, if I want to order from a favorite restaurant, it'll just take a click of a button and in 20 minutes my food will be there. So, and it seems so much more convenient than stepping out in Mumbai traffic, traveling to a restaurant, that'll take me another half an hour and then waiting for the food.
You can get 70% of the same experience at home, but why you want to step out, right? You cannot enjoy this ambience and service sitting at home. But to answer this question in an indirect manner, you mentioned that people don't want to travel today. Why? Because there is traffic. So traffic is fabulous for business. 10 years ago, 12 years ago, if you were to ask me how many Burmas can you open, I would have said 2 or 3. Because the traffic was not as bad. Today, we already have 7 Burma Burmas in Mumbai. And there's definitely room for more. So you're absolutely right, people do not want to travel more than 5 kilometers or 15-20 minutes. That gives opportunity for brands to scale up in existing cities. Secondly, why is it that they want to travel? Earlier, the only experience with food was going out. Now, but at the same time, people were eating out eating outside food much less. Now that number has gone up drastically. So they are eating at home, at the same time they want to step out. So we are competing, any brand is competing for when a person decides to step out, whether it's a casual dining experience, whether it's a QSR experience or a premium fine dining experience. If the product is differentiated, backed by great service, and it has to be accessible. Nobody will travel 20 kilometers for food unless it's a special occasion.
Yeah.
So if it's accessible, differentiated experience and high defensibility, 90%, 95% of anything that you like at Burma Burma, you will only get it at Burma Burma. So with all of these things comes together, the consumer is more likely to visit Burma Burma on days he or she cannot visit, can experience the same food backed by great packaging, experience, tamarind candy sitting at home.
Ankit, coming to you, tell me how much of a restaurant business is a technology business? How much of technology do you use on a daily basis?
You know, from 0 to 10, of course, there are these few ERPs that we use within the restaurant. But when it comes to beyond 10 restaurants, it's just the tech, right? And how they talk to each other, right? Different technology platforms. So we've got a technology partner for our learning management systems. We have one for our data. We have one for our human resource. Right, and all are somehow connected to each other, right? It makes things more seamless, and we get real-time data, right, for us to make those decisions rather than waiting for a month, seeing the reports, and then execute a certain change, right? So technology is very, very key, right? And so glad that in the recent years there are so many international companies and homegrown technology partners who have come only directed towards the restaurant growth,
Sure.
which wasn't the case earlier. Just to build on one, I think Chirag could build on that, is about the reservation bit, right? The traditional way was just to take reservation on like a manual register, right? And then probably feed it, you know, physically on your Excel sheet, and then probably run a CRM engine on that, right?
Yeah.
So now the reservation's also automated. There is a reservation app for that, and that's directly connected to the aggregators, dine-in and delivery platforms, right? So Chirag can build on, you know, what we are doing new at Burma Burma.
Absolutely. And Chirag, similarly, I also want to know which part of the restaurant business do you think will be most disrupted by AI and automation?
I have a different take on that. AI is fantastic if it's in the back end. You know, all our systems and processes have to talk to each other, technology, but not consumer facing. Personally, if I go to a restaurant and I get a QR code to scan and to see the menu, if I have to put in my details, which will again be mine to check my frequency,
Yeah.
what I'm ordering, what is my age, I think that is a technology overkill. All of us have screen times of anywhere between 4 to 8 hours. So you go to a restaurant to stay away from the screen. Technology to support restaurant operation is fantastic, I'm all for it. But technology within the restaurant, I mean, there is tech available today where, you know, they put a mic on the server, so when the server is taking orders, so the app will help you analyze what the server is doing right or wrong, what the consumer is thinking. And
Sure.
so all that exists.
Yeah.
But that is something personally I'm not in favor of. Anything consumer facing, that interaction. Even today, you know, at Burma Burma, so many consumers come in and say, please, can you recommend a few things? So that recommendation, if they were to be replaced by AI, they were to be replaced by app recommendation, the whole experience changes. The old world charm of reading a menu,
Yeah.
maybe seeing a few images,
Yes.
you know, that trumps technology. But anything in the back end, technology is fantastic. It increases efficiency.
Yeah, absolutely. I still prefer reading the menu, you know, instead of scanning the QR code. I mean, that's just me. I just feel
Absolutely.
like it's a different, you know, charm altogether.
I mean, we don't even have like a tab, right? We want that server to build that relation with the guest, look into the eye, you know, like old school method of taking orders, building that relationship, taking care, right? That entire 12-inch by 6-inch menu, imagine you just seeing it on your phone and zooming in, zooming out to see the dish's name. I think that all adds up to the experience, right? And we do not, that's the reason we made a very, very conscious call of, in the front end, limiting the use of technology.
All right, very, very interesting. So now the both of you have built a business together. You both have also been childhood friends. Tell me one thing about each other that drives you crazy and one thing about each other that keeps you sane. Chirag, let's start with you.
I would say, both of us have worked together for 12, 13 years, and we have complementing skills. And we have this rule, if there is a subject, for example, a location, that either one of us like, but the other one says no, so we move on. Rather than fighting for it or trying to convince each other, we move on. So this concept we apply to 80% of the things. We can agree to disagree on 20%, but 80% we decide, because both of us are the biggest stakeholders in the brand. We wouldn't want anything that is bad for the brand. So our intention is pure, and both of us want the same thing. The route might be different. The only difference is I am little more impatient, or our paces might differ at times, but in the end we find a way to convince each other, come to a common platform. That is evident in about 11 years.
Yeah.
We opened 12 restaurants. In the last year, we opened 9. So both of us have flipped a switch where we've opened 9 restaurants in a financial year. And we will only build on from there.
So no fights, no arguments. I was looking
friction
for...
is good, right?
Yeah, it is.
When there's no friction, then there's a problem, right? It becomes very dominant and stagnant, right?
Yeah.
And then it talks about, you have to differentiate the professional friction from the personal friction, right? And both of us having started as friends, right? So there was like a good 10, 12 years of knowing each other, playing different sports, having common friends, right? So that awareness and that relationship building was already done, right? And we respect, each other on that. And of course, we have our, it's natural to have, and it's good to have, differences in terms of, creative differences and all. But then we give it time, right? 1 week, 2 weeks, we think from different scenarios, and then we come to a common conclusion.
Fantastic. And well, as we are wrapping up this fantastic discussion, tell me, what is the road ahead? I hear there is a public listing, IPO on the cards. What can you tell us? And what's your ultimate vision for Burma Burma?
Amongst multiple possibilities, there is going to be financial events in the future which we cannot speculate at the moment. But just to answer your question, we opened 9 last year. We are building on from there. There is tremendous love from the people, great demand in the market. All the organized assets. They want Burma Burma to be part of their ecosystem. So the future is looking great. We are scaling with soul, and we are very happy to be where we are. We are 12, 13 years in business. We are a lot smarter and wiser than we initially started off. We have a fabulous team working for us. So the future looks super exciting and bright.
Ankit, I'll let you have the last word.
Everything we do at Burma Burma, our guest is at the core, right? We are very, very obsessive about, the experience that the guest has when they visit. And it all boils down to that every day one guest entering and the feeling that he's going away with, right? So right from our processes to giving that experiences, right? And everything rest is on the side of it, right? We never intended to open 20 restaurants, 30 restaurants, how much ever it is, right? It just starts with that one, right? So the past was super exciting for us. I don't know what future holds for us, but proud that, people coming in every day, they're enjoying Burma Burma, and that's been our only goal.
Fantastic. Well, this was a delicious conversation. Thank you so much for your time. It was lovely speaking to the both of you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us.
Before we wrap up today's episode, here's a quick look at our LOT cheat sheet, a quick rundown of the top takeaways from today's episode. And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Leaders of Tomorrow Vodcast. Stay tuned for more inspiring conversations and keep chasing those big dreams. Until next time, this is Ritwika Gupta signing off.